Welcome to the Lister Island Research Synergy event, co-hosted by the Lister Institute and the Royal Irish Academy. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming here, and I hope you have an enjoyable and informative day. I will first do the routine domestic announcements. There are no planned fire alarms, so should a fire alarm go off, please follow the fire exit notices. I think that's the most important one there. And the toilets, if you haven't found them already, are down the stairs from the lobby area where you collected your badges. Okay, so I'm Julian Blow. I'm on the board of the Lister Institute. I also chair the Lister Island Steering Group that set up today's event. And until last year, I was the chair of the Lister Scientific Committee. The current scientific chair, committee chair, Anne Rosser, is also with us today. So in my introduction, I'd like to give you a bit of a background to the Lister Institute, then move on and say a little bit about the purpose and the structure of today. Oh, I should have moved this on. And then pass on first to Rory Guinness, and then to Noel Lowndes of the RIA. So the Lister Institute, we believe, is the world's second oldest medical research charity, which was founded in 1891, just 4 years after the Pasteur Institute was created in Paris. And its foundation came about in part as a consequence of a British parliamentary working group that was spurred into action by the perceived success of the Pasteur Institute. But it couldn't come into existence without the incredible generosity and a very large financial donation that came from Edward Guinness, the first Lord Iveagh. And Rory will be saying a little bit more about Lister's creation and its deep roots in Ireland. So Lister was originally a bricks and mortar research institute concentrating on medical research and microbiological research. And it had buildings in Chelsea and Elstree. The history of this first incarnation of the Lister Institute is impressive and very illustrious, and highlights many of the key medical discoveries of the last century. And I'm just going to mention a few of these. So Arthur Harden's work on the enzymatic basis of fermentation led to his being awarded the Nobel Prize. Casimir Funk's work on diseases such as beriberi, pellagra, scurvy, and rickets, where he showed that these weren't infectious diseases, but they were caused by a deficiency in the diet, and he named the thing that they were deficient of as vitamins. And following on from that, Harriet Chick demonstrated that rickets was caused by a deficiency of vitamin D. There was a lot of work on microbial diseases, particularly spurred on by the First World War, and the identification of Clostridium velchii as the causative agent of gas gangrene. Later on, Walter Morgan and Winifred Watkins worked on the structure of the ABO antigens, and their work was absolutely critical for making blood transfusions safe, followed by Ruth Sanger and Robert Race, who worked on the genetics of those human blood group antigens and identification of the rhesus antigen. The Lister Institute was really important also in manufacturing serum and vaccines for a wide range of diseases, from diphtheria to plague. And lastly, I want to mention Leslie Collier, who devised the mechanism for freeze-drying the smallpox vaccine. And this made the vaccine stable without refrigeration, which made it possible to be deployed worldwide, including in the tropics, and was absolutely fundamental to the global eradication campaign. So unfortunately, in the 1960s, the regulatory and financial landscape meant that the bricks and mortar Lister Institute became financially unsustainable, and its assets were realized. The estate was sold in the late 1970s and were then invested in a legacy fund, which was tasked with supporting annual fellowship awards. These fellowships have had 2 iterations, and the current one, which is the Lister Prize Fellowship, was initiated in 2003 and was developed under the leadership of the late Dame Bridget Ogilvie. So these fellowships aim to support the very best early career biomedical researchers and help transform their careers, supporting them to tackle big challenges with truly world-changing outcomes. So that's the first part of my introduction. Sorry it was a bit long, but that's 130 years of the Lister Institute summarized in just a few minutes. So the purpose of today, our real purpose is that we want to reinforce our historical links with Ireland and the Irish research community. And in particular, we are a little concerned about the relatively small number of prize winners who have been based in Ireland. We're going to hear from Tomás Ryan, who is a current prize winner, and also from Rebecca Corrigan, a former prize winner, both of whom are based in Dublin. But really what we want to do is we want to make sure that we get more of those prize winners based here in Ireland. The program, no, have I gone too far? Here we go. So this is the program today. We're going to hear from Rebecca about how winning the prize has impacted her research career. We'll then pass on to Arga Gambus, who's a former prize winner at the University of Birmingham, and she's going to tell us something about what she and her university does to support early career researchers, to facilitate them and help them win research prizes such as the Lister, and do as much as they possibly can with their career. We're then going to hear from Tomás, current prize winner, about the impact the prize has had on him, and I think looks like a somewhat wide-ranging discussion of the challenges to early career researchers in Ireland. We'll then have an interactive session with a selection of our fellows about their experience with working and being supported by the Lister. We'll have a break for tea and coffee, and then have an interactive question and answer session with the scientific committee to allow you to ask questions about how we judge applications, what we're looking for, so that it can help you to either put in a good application yourself if you're an early career researcher, or if you're a senior representative of your university, how you can give advice to colleagues at your institution about the prize. Before I pass on to Rory, I'd like to say what a huge pleasure it is to be co-hosted by the Royal Irish Academy, which is Ireland's principal academy for sciences and humanities. The Academy champions research excellence, supports scholars at all stages of their careers, and provides an influential and independent voice in shaping national research and policy. It also plays a vital convening role, such as the one we're doing today, bringing together people and ideas across discipline in a way that strengthens the entire research ecosystem. And all of those aims, I think, resonate very strongly with those of Lister, and I hope that this is the beginning of a deeper and continuing collaboration. I'm also chuffed that the Academy is to be represented here by Noel Lowndes, and we shared an office together for 5 years or more when we were early career researchers. So anyway, I won't be inappropriate to reminisce too much about that just now. So let me hand over to Rory.
Where does it all begin for us? It begins, as you know, 1759, just up the road. Arthur signs the 9,000-year lease. My great, 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 5 greats, grandfather. Okay? Brewing, married 1761, 21 children from his beloved Olivia. Only 11 saw adulthood. Okay? And I think that sets the context for what became Guinness. Because there we were yesterday, we were looking through some of the recipe books. 1802, you could see in the original Arthur's grandson's handwriting, you could see how the deep frosts of 1801 was affecting the brews in 1802. So the beer had to be adapted, not only to market conditions, but also prevailing weather conditions, both when the barley was harvested and also the weather conditions when the consumer would be enjoying the product. Fast forward 50 years, would you believe it? It was a bit of a success. This insistence on quality, this insistence on maintaining consistency in the brew. And you know what happened? People started imitating a Guinness pint of stout. So rather than just say, close down that premises, a very novel thing was undertaken. Somebody invested in a microscope in order to prove to that naughty publican in Kilkenny, in Waterford, and I think there was a couple in Cork, if I remember rightly, to prove that what they were doing was passing off inferior stout as Guinness. And of course, we are proud to have our name on a bottle. We are proud to have that quality insistent. And if you've got a naughty publican who's watering down a pint or passing off, forget it. Let's move on. We don't want to be doing business with them. Fast forward another 50 years. 1886, the brewery is the biggest in the world. We are producing, it's the biggest employer in Dublin. I read a stat the other day that 1 in 5 jobs in the city of Dublin was based on either in James's Gate or based on money in contingent services to St James's Gate. And would you believe it? The Bonanza, which was the stock flotation in 1886, suddenly enabled us to say, right, we've got all the money, we've rebuilt St Patrick's Cathedral already, we've begun the slum clearances around the liberties of Dublin. Let's also think about some of putting our money into science. And one of the early incredible employees of the brewery was none other than Gossett, student with his famous tea test. Again, something that's unknown, the fact that he was here, he was practicing here. It's an Irish invention. But that insistence on quality, that insistence on thinking about investing in materials and quality, efficiency of the pint, that was all our insight that came from the brewery. The best thing, though, I reckon, has to be the fact that Lister himself was an incredibly fearsome guy. But in his memoirs, when he was sat down by my great-great-grandfather, Edward Cecil Guinness, to be interviewed about why he should be given what's the equivalent of 30 million today, why should he be given the 30 million? The fearsome surgeon from Glasgow turned around and he said that was the most scary experience of his life. So I only wonder how fierce my great-great-grandfather was. But he got the money. And at the same time as doing that, is investing in Lister and this great idea of using carbolic to kill bugs and so on and so forth. We were getting behind the RDS in the form of the Radium Institute. That was $250,000, I think, in 1905. Which went on to pioneer loads of early thinking into radiology and all of those amazing medals that the RDS produce come from the same root. And I stand here today not as a proud trustee of the Lister, but my main charitable job, it's fair to say, is as trustee of the Iveagh Trust. So we are one of Dublin's biggest social housing providers. We run just over about 1,500 units of housing half a mile away all around St Patrick's. We've just opened 418 units in Ballyfermot. We've got, above all else, we stick to the same principles that the Lister has ingrained so well into ourselves, which is we provide the units, we provide people with a platform to live, but we also provide the services around them. So the community rooms, the opportunities for education, because we've got the crew on the ground. And that's my one big message for here today, is the Guinness input is sometimes seen as the money. And the money helps. But the wonderful thing about the Lister, it's a bit like a family. It really is. And I see you clever people all getting together at the annual conference, having your clever chat. I'll never understand a word of what you're saying because it's all science and you're clever and I'm not. But the one thing you do is it's a brilliant, not only is it a brilliant calling card to say that you are a member of this community, it also opens many other doors. And for a Lister winner, of which we're going to hear from 3, for a Lister winner to say that they are a member of our community, that's really strong. Because what that means is they have risen to the top of science at an early stage in the UK and Ireland. That is a powerful message because it's independent, non-governmental, but also intra-island. And to my dying day, I will always be promoting that intra-island interest because that is, in my belief, in the interests of everyone in society and everyone in these countries. So thank you. Enough from me. To Edward Guinness and our host, brilliant Noel. Thank you for having us, Noel.
So welcome everyone to the Royal Irish Academy. You're indeed very welcome, and it's so pleasing to see that so many people turned up today. So by way of personal introduction, I'm Noel Lowndes. My day job, I'm Professor of Biochemistry in Galway, and as a non-paying volunteer role, I'm the Science Secretary for the Royal Irish Academy. So the Academy has an interesting history. It was founded in 1785 to be Ireland's leading academic body of experts supporting and promoting both the sciences and the humanities. The following year, in 1786, it was granted a royal charter by George III, King of what was Great Britain and Ireland. It's now, of course, Great Britain and Northern Ireland. So importantly, while politics has moved on, and today's Ireland is partitioned, as I've mentioned, between the Republic and Northern Ireland, the Academy remains an all-Ireland independent forum of peer-elected experts, about 600 of us in total. And we support and promote science. Within science, we include engineering and medicine, of course, and the humanities. And what I always find very quaint about the Academy, they don't refer to the humanities, they refer to polite literature and antiquities, the PLA section. With respect to antiquities, the Academy has long since handed over some of Ireland's national treasures, things like the Ardagh Chalice and the Tower Brooch, to the National Museum, which is not far away in Kildare Street. But we still house a number of very significant manuscripts, including the Cathach of St. Columba. It's the oldest surviving manuscript in Ireland, written sometime before 561, and the second oldest psalter in the world. Now, what a psalter is a book of psalms, and highly prized possessions in early medieval times. No self-respecting chieftain or petty king or aristocrat would be found wanting. So they were very prized possessions. This one was reckoned to be written by St. Columba himself for the chieftain of the O'Donnell clan. And its purpose, other than being religious, was as a relic to parade around armies before they went into battle to show that God was going to engineer a victory for them. Anyway, enough history. Today, the Academy provides an independent forum bringing together academia, governments, particularly North and South, and industry to address issues of mutual interest and to make a significant contribution to public debate and policy issues relevant to science and culture. So we are academic publishers. We lead on national projects, particularly in areas relating to Irish heritage. We've provided research grants since 1867. And as you can see, we have this unique and globally recognized library with all its treasures. Today, we're very delighted to host the Lister Institute. Indeed, I hope this is the beginning of a relationship, a longer relationship, which has very significantly contributed to research, particularly in the United Kingdom. And I'm very impressed by their ambition to spend more of their money, part of which was originally based in Ireland with that kind donation, legacy from the Guinness family. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing the rest of the day, and hopefully many of us will leave here encouraged to consider Lister applications.